I'm trying, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, I can hear Kenny. I just can't hear you guys.
Oh, okay.
So, Kenny, what have you got growing right now?
Um, we are coming to the end of the season on the squash and zucchini. There's some watermelons I'm waiting on. They probably have about 5 to 10 more days. Um, what else? Tomatoes, but we're having issues. There's a few different types of tomatoes we grow, and one of them is kind of like a what do you call them? They're like Cherokee purple. They're a little
Yeah.
bit more soft fleshed, and they are rotting before we can pick them. It's very tricky to know. Like you've got to pick them when they still are quite green, when they just start to blush, or else they rot on the plant.
Hmm.
And what else do we got going? Cucumbers are about to come to an end as well. What about you?
Yeah, I've got some Cherokee purple tomatoes that I got the seedlings from Sweetwater Farm, and I've noticed that they they're quite edible and sweet even when they're still a little green. Um, and I've just been letting them get ripe, and also uh, just leaving them for our other constituents to pick. And now I'm worried that all my tomatoes might be getting
Well,
bad.
it's just that they're delicate. They're very delicate when fully ripened, but that's when they're the tastiest. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
bad if you pick them early and let them ripen on the counter, but yeah, we did about 100 pounds of onions at the school gardens this year. This is some of them. You might be able to see there,
Can you hear us
but
now?
that's what's
I think I
left of
fixed
them
it.
that we haven't sold yet.
Maybe. Can you guys hear us now? Is that better?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Oh, sorry for the technical difficulty. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, Miss Cheryl. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fabulous. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
So, so do you want to start again? Okay. Our squirrel is swirling. Okay. So for us this morning, my name is Dee. I am one of the co-chairs for the food production working group here with the Homegrown Hillsborough. I am also one of the stewards or the steward for 813 Hood Garden, for those of you that don't know me. Um, Co-chair with Nicole, who should be joining us shortly. And we have, you want to go, Sarah? You want to
My name is Liz Terra Fuel. I'm one of the voting members for the working group of food production. I'm a volunteer at Sweetwater Organic Community Farm, working as a liaison for them. I'm also want to be more involved with the community and to be provide some more input into how we can make a more resilient food system.
And I am Georgia Snyder. I am also a voting member for the working group for food production. And I am the director at the Sustainable Living Project. And also, a lot of the same goals echoed. It gets a little repetitive, I think, sometimes, but so yeah.
Go ahead, Kenny.
My name is Kenny Gill. I am agricultural educator at Middleton High School in East Tampa, amongst many other things. Former vice president of Tampa Bay chapter of Rare Fruit Council, and I'm also a beekeeper. So a lot going on.
You guys want to introduce yourself? You want to go, Cheryl?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Zennel. I'm a volunteer at the Mustard Seed Garden in Lutz, and I'm also the current temporary leader while our leader is out due to an illness. We only have like 5 working people in our garden right now, so we've benefited a lot lately from getting volunteers through the Coalition of Community Gardens event posting site. So that's really helped us a lot.
Awesome. Welcome. Your turn, Scott.
Okay, I'm Scott Gonzalez and have a community garden in Town and Country on Hanley Road.
That's your introduction. That's all you got?
Yep.
Scott is the seedling starter. He's a seedling master, is what I call him. Because he can start anything. Thank you guys for joining us. So do you want to go over these?
Yes. Okay, so for our working group, I just wanted to mention what our working group expectations are. We kind of adjusted the attendance a little bit. So we're gonna say 5 minutes late to 30 minutes late is just considered late. And if you have too many lates, we'll talk to you about it and see what the issue is. 30 minutes to an hour late, it'll be a half absence because you're still participating in over half of the meeting. And then if you're more than an hour late, then that is definitely still one of your absences. So as a reminder, you get 1 full absence per calendar year, 2 virtual attendances, and that's it. Lates we'll work on if we need to, but you guys are all on time today, so good job. And besides that, I would just say to remember to be communicating with each other, and this is new, so there's gonna be some kinks and stuff, but if you don't know what's going on, feel free to reach out to me, or your working group leaders, your co-chairs. Sorry. Everyone who's a voting member is considered a working group leader, but everyone, which should be anyone who has a voting membership, and then your co-chairs are the co-chairs. Sorry. The language is a little bit confusing and I get confused myself. So I will it's just it's difficult. So that's that. All right. Thank you.
Sorry, quick. You said 30 to 60 minutes late is half absence?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to make a sheet on it, but we decided literally yesterday. Okay, let me share my screen so that everyone can see the agenda.
Do you have notes from the last one that you want to report back on? As far as things that we want to go over? Or is it pretty much all on the agenda?
Basically the whole agenda.
Okay. I didn't know if there was any side notes, any little things that you.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to really establish our goals and objectives.
Okay. So as far as Kenny, do you want to go first, or anybody want to go first? As far as the platform, anybody find anything super cool on there? I can go if y'all want me to. While y'all look. I'll pull up your notes. I honestly looked at the platform. I only saw 2 things that were new. That's not one of them. There's a yeah, that's not the one.
Written down actually funny. I just thought it was an interesting event to try to attend and maybe get some insight for some more of our goals here as well. It would be a good listening opportunity to find out what are some of the things that people are looking for, and then also more connection, networking, and seeing how they, what's the word I'm looking for? Structured their, yeah, their event more so like, so, it's talking about a lot of the same things that we will be talking about. So farming, taxing, funding, training, business models, um, and different tools. So I just thought it was like sort of something that might be a good opportunity to go to and sort of look and see like what do we like, not like, to bring back for the things that we are working on.
I think that does cover some of our things. Well, the majority of things on our list.
Yeah, that's what got my attention on it. Like I had other, there's other events on the platform, but I just, like I said, I saw that one in particular today and was like, this looks like something to bring up to the group that might be,
Yeah, I mean, I personally found it really hard to pick any one single post because I think all really contribute to different nodes of the network, like your Georgia's like summer gardening thing is really cool. When Molly 2 is posting about what events that the extension has, and then they also provide like things like micro irrigation kits are really helpful. So, but I guess I picked George's, like I'll pick her event as my homework.
It's coming up and we know you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of different like posts on there. I think Monica posted something as well about some different funding and yeah, I'm really excited. It's this Sunday. Driving through. I definitely like the breakup of the groups. It helps me to sort of, because it is a lot of things getting posted on there, right? I'm still figuring out how I want my like notifications to work, but right. But and so I think that, but I do like the group sort of breakup, things like that, so that it's like, okay, working group, that's a lot more relevant to me, and I know where I want to like, I guess what puts off a little alarm bell of like, hey, look here for a second.
Yeah. As far as the new discussion and developments. So on that one, oh, I'm not connected to Wi-Fi. I'm like, why is this so lagged? Duh. I was looking into an option that I thought about for us as far as creating a tool. So that's what I've been looking into because of the fact that I feel like it would help us be able to help other producers. It's just far as streamlining things as far as one of our goals is concerned. So that's kind of one of under the readings for new discussions and development that I looked into. Anybody saw any articles or anything else that we want to talk about? And I have it's a tool that I created actually. It's a manual, a garden manual. So I figured something like that.
That's cool. What software did you use?
Girl, that's a Google Doc. I am not taking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, on the similar note, I mean, I'm always doing research on a variety of different things. Some not so, or could be relevant to this, but again, like you say, like things can get so out of control with so many different things and ideas and tools for events. But one in particular called Kumu Maps. I don't know if KUMU. I don't know if Savannah wanted to pull it up, but that I think could be a cool complexity mapper, which is something that we need as a tool that can map complex systems like our food system, and maybe even greater regenerative system. So maybe just not even particularly food, but like maybe like wellness or like education.
Welcome, Nicole. Welcome, Danny.
Hi.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, I had started working on it. So far it's very early stages, but I could maybe while we're on this meeting, I can add you guys to it. But that's it for me.
Is it an app or is it like just a website?
It's just a website. You just need to have like a login. I think you may not even need a login.
Will that be something that can help us kind of at the end of the day, once we're done with this project for this phase of Homegrown Hillsborough, be able to link all of the different working groups together in some way, or
Yeah, I think so. I think there's just so many ways that you can map things and connect them to each other. And even better, you can connect it to a spreadsheet if you feel better like putting information about different things or players or places. And then it'll automatically map itself visually. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
It sounds like tech and more tech.
Yeah,
But
I
super
mean,
cool.
I think I'm still just trying to wrap my head around it and like how it can be used best. I'm looking at it and it looks really neat. I'd like to see like what you're putting together on it to get a better idea of.
Let me see if I can actually send you the link that I already started to Savannah
Mhm.
and see if she can open it on her end.
Okay. And while we do that, Nicole, do you want to share what you saw on Homegrown Hillsborough or anything that you kind of looked into while we were away?
Sure. I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you guys. Is there an opportunity to turn up the volume on the microphone that's there?
We're on max. We can maybe talk louder. Is that okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So a couple things that I saw on, well, one, I always think that any type of shared funding streams that are posted are wonderful. Specifically, it's nice to see that the USDA has come out with some, um, just a renewal of the LAMP funding programs, but additionally, just the different grant opportunities that are posted across different groups. One with Chipped that I saw, obviously USDA. The Newman Zone Foundation also has a few. But one of the things that I thought was outside of funding streams that I thought was really interesting was a research article, and it was actually a study done. I want to say it was in Ireland, but it was based around local food systems. It was something that Monica had posted in the food production group. And I took a lot away from that because I think that as we look at really the US is
Okay.
far behind as it relates to innovating within food systems as compared to other countries. And so that specifically I thought was really um, interesting and also a good point to like study up against what, our teams are doing. Yep.
In Ireland. Cool. Thank you.
Oh. I'm touching it and it keeps going off. There you go.
No, you're fine.
So one of the things with that article too, if you scroll in there, if anyone's interested in looking at it, is there's obviously that article specifically, but you can also dig into each of the studies that were done across different, segments of the research group altogether. So if you go into, obviously you see you can click on the full article PDF. And then within that, you can navigate to different links that were a part of the study too. I just thought it was really interesting the way that other countries or other studies look at circular food systems specifically. And if we are trying as a group or as Homegrown Hillsborough to build stronger food systems, just taking a look at these as well as other studies to model our framework off of and, to think of, okay, what do we need to consider and what elements do we have in place here, if at all, versus what are the things that need to continue to be built out.
Gotcha. I'll definitely check that out as well. Anyone else have any thoughts before we move on to talking about the priority areas? Because I think we want to narrow that down. I feel like we do have 8. and we want to kind of see how we can merge some of these together, or see which ones we want to remove.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on ones that we want to merge together?
One of the areas that I think could be um, merged, or two of the areas, are marketing and education. Um, and I wasn't sure, and I was thinking about this as I was looking through these priority areas yesterday. And I don't know if everyone's in agreement of that, but there are a lot of opportunities to loop those around one another, right? Marketing, education, and then education opportunities, or how to market opportunities of education, but also how to educate within marketing. Um, and so obviously in the way that we do that is through communicating, and that kind of falls within marketing. So that's one of the areas that I thought we might be able to consolidate. Similarly with funding and revenue streams. I don't know if funding was in terms of grant funding, or if that was in revenue streams was in terms of profitability,
I honestly feel like when it comes to producers in general, all of this,
hmm
the marketing, the infrastructure and labor, well, not really that one. So marketing, funding, revenue, profitability, distribution, all of that could be a part of education, because a lot of times we don't, when we're on the ground, we don't really have the time to really do the research or to figure out necessarily writing and submitting the grants. We're literally spinning our wheels, um, trying to get these streams. So I feel like having some type of it being categorized as education, and then we just put these subcategories in there, a few of the subcategories in there to kind of streamline it. I don't know what you guys think about with that.
There's a better term that encompasses a lot of these: business management, because that includes profitability, that includes um, marketing, that includes funding, revenue, all of those things.
hmm
So if you just drop business management into there, um, and you could strike through some of those other things, because the way I would look at it is, what's the day to day on the farm, and then what's happening in the office, and then what's happening at market. So, like, how are we growing and producing the food and becoming more efficient in doing that? But then, how do you manage the business side of farming? And then getting new people into growing is where that, I think, intersection happens between the business and the business side and the farming side.
Undo that,
Yeah,
Sam.
I agree with that. Kenny, I like that perspective on it. I also think, it's interesting when we think about our priority areas, or like where our focus is, which is to improve the food production experience. Um, so obviously there's a lot of that can go into efficiency within business management, but then also educating externally on, products, opportunities within the community. So I think of this as more of like an internal versus external, not verse, but like on two sides of the coin. Educating the community on on producers in the area, resources, access, those types of things, new products. So I don't know if we want to keep it strictly to improving the food production experience, or if we wanted to incorporate any of that around, external
I like
I
your,
think, go ahead,
I
Kenny.
was going to say, I was going to say, I like that phrasing of internal and external. Like, that helps
Yeah.
differentiate the target audience
hmm
of
I
those
like
two
that too.
things.
I kind of think of it as like input versus output, right? Like input is business management, improving the production experience, whereas output is um, the consumer experience. And so I think of, with regard to our priority areas, and a lot of these things kind of go on both sides. Um, and maybe we do make it like two pillars.
So we would then focus on So education, but under education, there is the internal and external. So the internal would be business management, where we're helping streamline things for the producers, and then external is how we're educating the consumer side of things on what's available through the local producers.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Like availability, accessibility, how to best support, how to access those kinds of things. Like I think more of like a resource
and I think,
education.
Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like once the producer gets better at marketing, the consumer will find the producer.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Yes.
why I was trying to
Yes and no. Yeah, I mean, I think yes and no. I think, yeah, I mean, yes, hopefully, right? Like that's how it would work out.
Yeah.
But there are also all these other barriers that we've talked about before too that stop people from purchasing locally produced foods, right? So prices, accessibility, things like that as well.
ingredients,
So
timing.
yeah, sorry. So yes, I agree with you, but also I think there are some of these other options or barriers. And one of the things I guess that comes to mind with this external side of things is where does this overlap with food access?
Has anybody sat in on their meeting?
I haven't spied in on their meeting.
I actually
But
wanted
yeah,
to.
that makes it, you make a good point. And I think we made this point last meeting too, and we keep going back to it. But I guess
So for me, I would focus much more on the internal.
production.
To me, that is what food production encompasses is the internal aspect, right? So yes, it is those business management skills, as well as maybe, yeah, maybe that does encompass all of it, business management. I feel like we keep kind of doing this thing where we consolidate everything into one or two terms, and then we expand those terms back out and then reconsolidate. Maybe that is just the process. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the external, I think we're going to have some overlap there. But what I would focus on for simplicity would be that internal aspect of how are we helping producers? And I think we did get to that last week, Nicole. I think you were correct,
Yeah.
or last month.
And now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I think we did the same dance last time. And now that I'm thinking about it, I agree with this because either way, we still do have the lens of, we're still looking through the lens of the consumer anyway, even when because we want to improve those things in order to increase profitability. And, without the buyer, there is no producer, right? And so I think we have that lens as it is, but you're right. I think by focusing in on how to um, support producers, how to create more efficiency, how to create coalitions that would contribute or advocate towards policy changes, um, and those types of things would be obviously incredibly valuable and intentional within food production.
So for the sake of completing our priorities and our goals, can we say that we are going to focus mainly on education for the producer, which encompasses business management, and it's those things there? We can erase policy altogether.
I think policy falls into business management. So, like,
Okay.
I was talking to somebody today that said that they wanted to sell compost, and I believe you need like a waste hauler's license to do that.
Okay.
So I think in some ways policy falls into there.
Under business management.
Yeah, under business management, but but maybe again, I think we discussed last month too. Like, we're not trying to influence policy as much as educate on policy, right? Which is which is like kind of what you were saying. So like sort of yeah, maybe a quick guide on what you can and cannot do. You know,
even just on where to find, and
find out
things
that
about that.
information.
Someone
Yeah.
asked at the market on Saturday, do we need a permit to sell eggs? And I was like, well, technically what we need is, you know what I mean? Because it's just not something that people readily know. So can we say that we're going to put policy under education, and we're going to focus on education, which encompasses those things, and possibly supporting producers in becoming more business minded. Am I
Hmm.
saying that correctly?
I mean, I think all of that is, yeah, I think,
Is that the sole focus?
That's what I'm asking.
I think we need to encourage and bring people into production, not
Hmm.
just focus on the ones currently in production.
Mm. Are you saying in addition to the pillar A, which is education, the pillar B or priority area B could be increasing food production?
Uh,
Increasing food producers.
right.
Or
So like
recruiting
the
producers, recruiting.
streamline.
I think it's hard to bring in new producers when you have struggling
Existing
producers. You know,
producers.
I think that I like love the idea of bringing new ones in. It's just it's so incredibly hard, and I think we see this sometimes with like community gardens where there's all this seed money to get them started, and it's very hard to keep them supported in the long run.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we see a lot of that too with like producers and getting in. We want to start, and then we get people started, and there is a clear issue and struggle.
but there's there's no continuity. It's like when you get first generation college students into college, but then no support to keep them successful throughout the years.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
I'm curious,
exactly.
Georgia, with regard to like those challenges, I know there's like a plethora of challenges, but if we're going to improve the producer experience, we should focus on the struggling producer and what maybe areas like one I'm thinking of specifically are around facilities or like tangible resources. Um, I don't know if that's something that is of relevance or and I know we talked about or someone threw out, um, some type of shared facilities model or a shared resources model or so I'm just trying to think of like we have the education piece, like in terms of a separate priority area, where do you think we could focus our efforts around, making a dent in those challenges?
I kind of agree with Kenny, and I agree with Kenny. Only the reason being is because I'm in that space at the moment where I have this food ambassador program where I have people that are coming in and they're learning the basic skills of gardening and cooking healthy recipes based on the things that they're growing. However, once they earn a certificate, where can they go with that? Like, where farms can they go work at? Where can they go do internships? So creating that pipeline from
Mm,
Kenny's kids that are graduating from the agriculture program at Middleton, where can they go to get more hands-on experience
mm,
along their journey? Now that I have this beautiful certificate, now what?
Right.
So
mm,
And I think that's kind of what I was saying with
yeah,
like we start these gardens or we start these different things and then it's sort of like now what once all the new shiny beautiful stuff has kind of passed then it's sort of like okay so now what is happening
but I'm thinking with the people that are coming through those programs, we now guide them to the producers that are existing.
yeah.
So that pipeline, I think, is what my thought is.
And when they get to those producers, what is the idea that the interaction is?
That's what we would come up with. So would they then become like a market manager for that producer? Would they become farm hand? Would they become, you know what I mean? The nursery guy. Like how do
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah.
we find funding so that they're able to get paid to be at those existing spaces?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I think that's definitely something that like exists. So
almost like
it's
career trajectory.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I don't know how to word that. Pipeline from education to real world. I don't know how to really word that. So that way it's, anybody have any thoughts on how we word that?
Um, I would just say, um, what do they call it? Like career transition, like transitioning from
Yeah,
college career or apprenticeship or trade to um earned income. I don't know what you would say that. The workforce transitioning into the workforce.
we could put an asterisk by and come up with a better name. We can kind of think that through, come up with a better name so we can move on to another topic just for the sake of time.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Georgia.
I had a question before we move on to new business, but it's not necessarily relevant to what we're doing right this second. So I think last month we had a whole thing about getting that one sentence line down. Are we revisiting that? Are we like just done with that?
We're done with it, but I could be wrong. Miss Terry, do you have the line that we were
I think Liz
working on?
Tara put it. Let me see.
In the one that I sent in the group chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can pull it up. To advance equitable, ecologically sound food production practices that strengthen local resilience and ensure long-term food security.
What I had from your last meeting was this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is
cool.
the
So we
one.
did
down.
finish that.
Yeah, we dumped it.
Is that, we're still good with this?
Yeah. I just had it that we did finish that. So I was trying to figure, I thought that was some of our homework for this month. So I continued the process.
What did you come up with? Did you come up with something?
Nothing better.
Hey, we're open to it.
Nothing better. I just had that. I don't know. I guess it stuck with me for whatever reason. There was something else from last time. Anyway, that's great.
Hey, can I ask a question to Cheryl and Danny, Scott? Quick question. So, for you, you guys that are on the call, real quick, would you say if we defined the definition of food production working group as working with food producers to overcome challenges to better meet local needs? How do you feel about that? How does that sound to you? Does it kind of tell you what our working group is working on? Scott, Cheryl, Danny?
I guess for me, working with food producers to overcome challenges to better meet local needs, that's what I'm all about. I need more volunteers in my garden. I need additional outlets for produce when we have it on a day other than Friday, when I take it to the Harvest Hope Market in Tampa. Like today, I was at the garden. I picked 3.5 pounds of beans, and I don't have anywhere to take it.
Gotcha. So that's like that. What was this thing called? Lemon drop? Is that what it was called? Lemongrass?
Yeah, let me go.
So something like that is probably what's needed.
Well, there's also a new thing called Farm Fixit. It was on posted on the platform. It's kind of like a Craigslist type of thing where it's like there's no transactions happening on the platform, but you can list stuff. I don't know if it launched or not yet, but
I saw an email last night.
Off the land.net.
okay.
And Farm
Is that active here?
Yeah, it's like Florida.
Farm Fresh 24/7 as well is also an online platform that you can post things if you have available.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Could somebody send me some of those links, or can you post them on the Homegrown Hillsborough or something? Or am I just not missing them? Are they already there?
I don't think they are there, but I'm writing some places for food distribution.
Okay. I actually use at my garden I use the free fridge Tampa Bay. It's at Bush at the Karate House. So anytime I have anything extra, I go in there and put them in. Crossing the marathon or whatever it's called, whatever the gas station is. Yeah, that's kind of where I put stuff. But can you drop in there Farm Fresh 24/7? 24-7. No, the other way. / Sorry. Yeah, no, it's an app. I'm sure it's on a website too. What were you saying, Nicole? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just talking to myself. I was looking at the chat and I saw that it was linked in here off the land as well as Farm Fresh 24/7.
Danny, can I pick on you for a second? Thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks.
All right, Scott. Danny's taking a break. Your thoughts?
Uh, since this is my first time, I'd really just like to get a feel for what you guys are doing before I express any opinions.
Okay, that's fair. It's our first time throwing that out there, so.
Dee, I know I talk a lot too, but I feel like that sentence is a little, I love the first part. Where were we? Can you go back to it? Um,
Working with food
Savannah?
producers.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay, is that working with food producers to overcome challenges to better meet local needs? Is that what you're talking about, Nicole?
Yeah. Um, I love the part where it says working with, and I'm sorry, it's not on the screen, so I can't see what the exact words are. But the last part, to better meet local needs, like I feel like it's a little uh repetitive, maybe. I don't know, to overcome challenges or working with local producers or working with local food producers to overcome challenges and to support local needs. I don't know. I feel like that might just feels better or to better meet. I don't know. It just seems a little linear to me is all, and I feel like it could be more encompassing.
I have a couple that I wrote down that I will share. So we're here to support local growers by sharing knowledge, improving access to resources, and making it easier to grow and sell food in our community. Or that one's like a little bit long. Absolutely not. No, I just made it up. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're here to support local growers by sharing knowledge, improving access
Sharing knowledge, improving access, and
to resources, sorry, and making it easier to grow and sell food in our community.
and
So I tried to keep them down to that one sentence that we can like repeat easily. That one is a little bit long. Other ones
Hey, hold on
that
one
I
second.
have,
If you take the last part of that one you just said, making it easier to grow and sell food in our community,
and just
what
add
if
it to
you
the,
what if you just that whole first part, replace it just with something like helping local producers or hold on, let me
yeah, working with local producers to overcome challenges, making it easier to grow and sell. Almost like a combination of both.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think a
To
combination
make
would
it
be
easier
good.
to grow and sell food in our community or something.
Yeah, I like
Empowering
that.
food producers to grow and sell food in our community.
Enhancing the experience of local producers to overcome challenges, making it easier to grow and sell food in our community.
Making it easier for local
And no. So I'm just
I know, I think we're spitballing and then trying
So
to.
enhancing the experience for the local producers to overcome challenges. So the rest of that. Because our whole thing, what we said initially, was we want to enhance the
Yeah,
production
so I thought
experience.
that some of our homework was that we were each going to bring in like 2 of these
It might have been.
and pitch
Oh, I don't
them.
remember that.
Okay.
I thought they were already done.
That's why I was going to let it go.
I
I was
did
like,
too.
oh, that's fine. We got it. That's great.
Okay.
You know?
Somehow I found my paper and I've not seen it on there, but I do like that we're revisiting it because I think it could be more encompassing.
So which one do we like?
Give us your thoughts, Sarah.
I like 3. Should we put a vote?
Let me read them out.
It's not on the screen entirely on mobile, at least. I can't. Yeah, like the whole right third of the page is cut off, and I can't like scooched over.
I don't know how to.
Can you like make the,
Can you zoom out a little?
yeah, maybe. Hold on.
Is that better?
Do that again, but make it a little bit smaller. It's moving. Go to 75. No, it's weird. It just, oh, let me turn my, there we go. I just turned my phone. That works.
Oh gosh, Kenny.
Sorry. You're dealing with old people here. Older people. Anyway, here we go. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, helping local producers overcome challenges. Easier.
I like two because, like Nicole said in the last meeting, when you're just putting in the word like sell, which I know is important to some extent, but like you could cut many corners in order to sell more. And so I think that's kind of what got us in this larger national issue of, having poor quality food, by prioritizing profit over health.
You said you like number two.
Yeah, because it's not like so focused on the selling part. But sharing
Well,
knowledge.
that's why number 1 is nice because it doesn't directly say that. I mean, but that selling produce is ultimately what we're trying to do, because if we're not selling produce, we're not sustainable.
Well, it's assumed
We can
though
we can
already,
be
right?
charitable, but it's not sustainable.
Right. It's but back to Liz Terra's point, like it's assumed that people, the majority of people are growing to sell it. So, or I guess I like two and I do like 2 and 3.
So what if we do 4 and just take off the other part? Take off that bottom part. Sell in our community.
Yeah, but sharing knowledge and improving access to resources is also a really important point to reiterate.
Okay.
But remember what we were saying last time, that this is like you have 10 seconds in an elevator with someone. You're trying to just say we're farmers have challenges, right? And then the people who are open to further discussion are going to ask, what type of challenges are farmers facing? Oh, they don't have access to resources. They don't have access to distribution channels, or, so this is just leading us to open a discussion, not necessarily it's not necessarily the discussion.
I
Sure,
agree
I do
with
remember
that to a degree, and I remember that conversation. I'm also thinking about the platform, like food production platform, and like, if one of these is on there as far in terms of our mission statement, will somebody who's interacting on the platform understand what our mission or goal is?
That's a good point.
And so I think, like, ideally by the end of this 2-year working group stint, like I would hope that it would be like a big group of us recruited and interested in joining this, right? Or joining along the way. So I'm thinking, like, if our mission statement is on there, are people going to interpret it in a way that would want them to be involved?
Yeah.
Or
So
to
for
participate?
me, I find number 3 to be like, if I was looking at the platform or even just having a casual conversation, that to me is the clearest of what we're trying to do, right? So it's just very to the point. And if I was like looking through all of these also as we get more wordy and things along those lines,
Yeah.
right, when I start looking through stuff and I'm like, enhancing sounds really nice, but when I'm reading through like a bunch of groups and I'm like, what do you do? I just want to read like, we help producers grow food easier. And or sell food, or instead of sell, we could say distribute. But I think I like number 3
Yeah,
the best for those reasons.
I mean, 1 and 3, the only difference between 1 and 3 is just they're selling food versus meeting local needs.
That's true. So I would be happy with number 1 as well.
So I'm between 1 and 3 as well.
So we want to vote. Let's vote.
Are we going just between 1 and 3?
I mean, I like 2 as well on that one.
I would say 1 is also great for me. Like,
Because challenges might be a lack of knowledge, right? So we're sharing the knowledge with producers, or access to resources. That's another challenge, right? It's
Okay,
not
can we add, instead of to overcome challenges, to better meet, can we just add for number one, working with food producers to overcome challenges and better meet local needs?
I don't that
I
doesn't
know.
flow or sound.
On a relevant note, I think there's food producer part of it, but then there's also the like resident part of it. Needs to be more education on that. What would persuade them to buy more from local producers instead of just
That's
going to
going
the
to be back.
Walmart?
That's going to be back to the access group.
Yeah, that's what we kind of discussed earlier, internal versus external.
Okay.
And we'll touch on it, but it's not going to be like, I think, a main focus.
Okay. Sure.
So we'll
Sorry, it's hard to untangle.
No, I know it's a lot. It
It's
is
all connected.
Yeah.
That's why we keep coming back to it. It's like innately we want to reach back out to that portion of things. And I think because all of us are in a way educators and we want to educate people, but remembering who we're trying to educate is important in this discussion.
You're right.
Yeah.
Thanks for
All right. So
keeping
do
us
we want?
on
Sorry.
track.
All right, so we're gonna vote between, let's just say the four. So 1 through 4. Lystera, what are you voting? Georgia, what are you voting?
3.
Nicole, what are you voting?
1.
Kenny, what are you voting?
Oh, 3.
Oh shoot.
I'm torn between 1 and 3. I mean, but either one is.
I thought we were gonna maybe do like how many votes for 1 and how many votes for 2.
Heck no, we want to get this over with so we can move on.
Yeah.
We'll be here for
D.
9 years. I know. Now I'm in a tough spot here. Tiebreaker.
I don't think there's any like
3.
hard feelings on
3.
this one.
Well, can't they guess?
3 it is.
Especially
3.
I only said that after because you said 3. I'm sorry.
All right, so there we go.
All right, perfect. Sorry for bringing it up, you guys.
No, I would rather us like get this over with and we all feel good moving on to something else so we don't have to bring it up next month.
Truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
One last thing
Okay,
from old business.
Correct. What you got?
We are using still Telegram
Mm-mm.
and the Homegrown Hillsborough. What do we want to do?
We're only using Homegrown Hillsborough.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay.
I do get notifications from that a lot slower than
I
Telegram. Like
know.
I don't see it as well as Telegram. Just saying, but I mean, it's fine. We can use that, but it's not as easy.
I just noticed that this month we still use both.
I don't have Telegram. I deleted the app once we decided we're going to the Mobilize thing. So I don't even have it. So
Great.
anything
I
that's
would
posted on
also
there.
like to do something.
We
Which is why-
can we can do homegrown. I mean, I think we can keep doing homegrown Hillsborough. I'm in the same boat as Liz Tara, and maybe I just need to figure out how to. Maybe it's user error, but I'm not getting notification. I'll get notifications. The only place I get notifications is in my email, and not like in the app, right? Like
Okay.
it pops up as an app notification, but unless I check my app or my email, it's not like a group chat, right? Where I'm getting that quick notification. So that's one of the things I've found is challenging on it. And I don't know, maybe I just need to figure out how to.
No, I agree. I missed a message from you, Nicole, that I saw
About the
like this
computer.
morning somehow.
So
You
my
know?
only thought on that would be let's create a normal group chat in the text messages because I don't want another app. I don't know about y'all, but
Yeah, I really don't want another app. I think let's give it another try with the group.
But I mean, we can say in a group text, like I
Yeah,
posted
group
something
text
on.
also text. That's fine.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
posted something on the chat, whatever. But I feel like what's the point of us going to something else when there's that but business that we need to post so that Savannah and the team knows we can go to the group and put it in there.
Yeah, I'm fine with either like a regular text group chat or the group chat on the Homegrown app. But yeah, either one.
I'm good. Things the like chat just between you guys should just be mostly for like, hey, like remember there's a meeting today, like, but even I don't know.
And that's what it has been.
Okay, I was like,
That's what it has been.
Here's an article, like the article and anything you see that is worth sharing with the group. That's not like a personal like thing, it's for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'll make sure.
So we're good?
Yeah, I think so.
Because there's a
We can
food,
start
food
group chat.
production.
Start the group chat.
We got
Start the group
we got a
chat.
secretary.
All right, I'm sorry. Thank you guys.
Fine.
I just wanted to get some clarity because I also would like to delete the app or know if I need to keep it or whatever.
I deleted that as soon as we said. Okay, so scrolling down, new business.
I'm just gonna put a time on this because I need about 30 minutes at the end to go through the last stuff. So we'll wrap this section, your goals up at 12. And it's okay if you don't finalize your goals because we can do that next meeting. They just have to be finalized by next meeting. So we don't have to finish it right now, but if we do, great.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Please. So this is us working on the goals that we set based on education.
Based off of your priority areas, which
Okay.
These are your priority areas, and your goals should be based on them, and that's what organizations will have to adhere to when they're applying for all of the grants. They'll have to say, well, the grants will ask, how does this project, how is it relevant to a working group's goals? So that's what it should reflect your priority areas. But it should be a little bit more like this, the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. So.
Okay. Cool.
If you want to see another group, I can share them.
Yeah, share that. Let's see what they got.
Let me see who actually got.
I don't know about y'all, but my brain be like an elementary school fifth grader. When it comes to these things, I like stuff to be simple as possible, so that way anybody can actually digest it. The more academic they are, the less I can process it, the less likely I am interested in even.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with like some of the wording and stuff. I'll just turn off. I don't mean to, but just subconsciously.
So this is economic development goals. They're not finalized, but this is what they came up with in their last meeting.
And he must be a partnership with more than one organization. I don't like that part.
Well, you don't have to do that.
I know, but I'm just saying, I like that part.
Like priorities was like increasing partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they kind of want to force people to do something not on their own. It has to be a group thing because that will help with economic development.
And then just to go back so that everyone's on the same page, we're gonna remember we talked about doing for $500 grants. Is that what we had talked about?
I'll talk about that.
I mean, okay, my bad. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, you're good. I can talk about it, like we skip it because I'm gonna go over the grant application.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can go back. So when
It's
it
interesting,
comes,
we both have business development as our priority areas.
yeah. How do we want to post that? So for example, education and business management, is it that we are going to support an org that wants to send 2 of their leaders to a conference to learn about more business management skill? Is it that, how do we want to do that?
Sorry, how do we want to do that, or do we want to do that?
Do we want to do that?
I think we're building our goals right now, right?
Right. But in order
from
for
the
me to
goals,
process it.
it sounds like Savannah, are you putting together or actually you already said you were going to share the requirements for the applicants, right?
Yeah, that'll be after this. And that's only for the one specific grant. There will be more grants next year, and those will also always have to adhere to these things, these goals.
Okay.
I was just asking so that I can process, so I know how to.
Does it go without saying they should be in Hillsborough County, or do we need to like write that out? Okay.
Yeah, that's like an automatic question. It's like, do you operate in Hillsborough County?
Yeah.
Just checking.
That's a legit question.
This is my jumping off point. Right?
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank, y'all, because honestly, I got to process a little bit differently.
I think this
You
just
got
takes
one?
some things to think about. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, we do need a lot more time, like, because this is kind of a big.
Like, we can
Big
take
task.
5 minutes to all write down something, or you want to bring to the group, or like, we don't have to all have an active conversation. You can like just take a few minutes for yourselves, take 5 minutes, I'll start a timer and come back with what you think. That works. Up to you guys.
I guess I have a lot of unanswered questions in order for me to
Okay.
move forward. So, so that's why I was asking the
Yeah.
question about, so what are we trying? So we have said education is one of our priorities, right? How do we want that to look? So that way
Mhm.
we know what we're doing, so we know what people are applying for. That would help me come back to the goal. So we're talking about education. Say you and two of your leaders want to go to the Grove Farmers Natural Organic whatever conference that's coming up, and that's going to help you on the production side of your gardening. Is that something that we want to focus on, or is it that we're going to host specific trainings where we bring in specific people that are going to do the education? How is that? How are we going to work education? How are they getting that piece?
I think this is a little bit of a cart and horse situation
Yeah.
where I think we're trying to write these guidelines for either of those situations.
Okay.
If that makes sense, because we don't know what other grants are coming like next year. And as Savannah said, like these will be guiding. What's that?
Like, these goals will guide everything.
Yeah, they're going to guide everything. So it shouldn't be as specific to those things. It should be a bit more broad and or specific, I guess, but it should be like no matter what, you know what I mean? So anybody that this group says, okay, we're gonna grant this money out, what criteria do we want them to meet is I guess what I'm kind of going through. And that's why my first thing was like
The criteria should tie back to our group definition. So how does this help them either produce more food or sell more produce?
Okay.
So yeah, I like that, Kenny. And then, but two, like from what you said, Savannah, when we were talking about this, and I think, and Dee, it was funny yesterday when I was on the phone with Sammy, I had the same question. She was like putting me off, like, we'll go through the criteria, but it is hard because I think a little bit like that, where I'm like, okay, well, what's the criteria? But at the same time, we still have to go back to our goals down to what that mission statement is that we just voted on. Like, how are we going, what are we going to do to support our mission around education, and then whoever applies, they might have a need or a financial need with regard to whatever, they think education might be. But
So I think it should be tied to your definition, but it should also be tied to your priority areas. So if you want to say that you want to improve like marketing, education, or business management resources for food producers, like that's more of a wide goal, but something like it needs to tie to your priority areas and your definition. And it needs to be specific, but it has to be like a wide enough goal that it's not gonna happen in one like distribution of a grant. It's gonna be, we want you to be able to achieve it by the end of this like fiscal or the end of the working group, which would be October 26th, 2026. But it's not like, we don't want it to be, like a crazy goal. That's like, we're going to, I don't know, like eradicate hunger, because that is not something we can do by October 2026. But it should tie to these things. Does that help? Because it's not just about this one grant. It's about all of the grants that that are going to be available next year. So, and it's not like just your working group either. So all the grants will be open for all of the working groups. So people should be working towards all of the goals, and they'll have to just basically like, yeah, they'll have to what's their like provide reasons of how it's relevant to the goals. And that's why they're applying, because we want the people who would apply to be working towards your goals. Does that make sense?
It totally does.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's hard to go to number 2 without
So
number
when
1.
okay. In the last phase, when we did all the interviews with people and we got all that data back from different people, do we have like an enumerated list of what? Because one of the questions that was asked was, "What are the challenges, you're facing or whatever?" Do we have an enumerated list? I know there was like a whole transcript, and USF had worked on, parsing all of that data, but where can is there somewhere I can find that? Because I think that would be my whole thought process on this is like it's hard to make and decide on all of these things without feedback from the people we're trying to help. Like we're trying to create a solution for an unknown problem.
So are you talking about the survey from Catfish, like their survey?
I don't remember. Like when they came
Like
and
it
did
was
interview,
through,
like Craig came and interviewed me, and then they took that transcript and they looked for different.
so was that phase 1 actually?
I think so, maybe.
Okay, I was like, how long ago? Okay. Because we have Catfish, like USF did a study last phase as well in phase 2, and I think we just got like the report back from them. And I have to figure out where it is in my email because I think like we literally like just got it from them. But
I
that's
mean, I
a
think
good.
we can assume we know what the problems producers are facing, but like, what are their words?
I see.
Mhm.
Let me see if I
So
can
like
pull.
Cheryl, you're saying that one of your woes at this point, one of your challenges is being able to know where you can take your excess. So that would be one of your challenges, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What would you say another one of your challenges is over at Mustard Seed?
Uh, Attracting and retaining volunteers to help.
Okay, so that was part of the labor. I think we had that on under one of them, labor. Okay. I know somebody didn't want to be picked on, but I would so love to hear what his challenges are.
I know I was trying to thinking, can I chime in and say something, but I don't want to pressure him. But and really, that's the beauty of this, right? Is that like Cheryl, like we're hearing it directly from you. We're trying to help in what ways we can to address your concerns.
And I'm a bit of an outlier here because all of our produce is donated to the Harvest Hope Market. We don't sell anything. We're doing this all in order to donate to food pantries.
So that's why you guys grow. That's your why.
And what was the problem with taking the beans to the Harvest Hope Market? Is there not going to be one?
They're only open on Friday. There's an alternative place that I know of, a pantry in New Tampa on Tuesdays. But other than Tuesday and Friday, if we have produce days other than that, we don't have anywhere to take it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So that's also another challenge is storage.
Yeah, I space that's a challenge as well.
Can
Now,
we
Cheryl,
make
can
a-
I ask another? Go ahead, Nicole.
I was just gonna say, Simeon, I don't know if you're the one that's typing, but can you maybe just kind of jot down a list on here as we're talking? So we have like storage,
Labor shortage and where to
labor,
put the produce.
and distribution. Is that where?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Distro. You were looking for the email, right? Is that what you're doing?
I was reading through it.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay. Gotcha.
for those that are, and I'm asking this to those that are producers in the room, um, if we go back to our the mission statement of helping growers to making it easier to grow and sell food, what are the challenges around selling?
Access to customers.
Access, what do you mean by access?
So currently the only channels that I have to sell my produce are direct marketing. So like I created a Telegram group and I post what's available.
Oh,
Oh,
you
you
muted
muted
yourself,
yourself.
Kenny. Kenny, can you unmute him?
I know. Kenny, you muted yourself. He's on a roll.
He might have muted.
Yeah.
He might have muted
Us too. Hey, Kenny, we can't hear you, bud.
Product.
What?
Are you there, Ken?
I'm here.
Okay, we didn't hear anything you just said.
Hold on. So what is going on? I think it was because I had an incoming call that I was trying to decline.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
So I was just, what was the last thing that you heard?
You created a Telegram group.
Okay,
Listing what
so I
you had.
created a Telegram group to market my produce weekly to teachers at our school. And then I post in community groups like Seminole Heights neighborhood group. But really you're like throwing darts in the dark
Mm-hmm.
because those people, I guess if they join the Telegram group, they're interested in produce, but maybe they're also joining because you work together and they don't want to be seen as like not on board with what you're doing. But my vision or idea has been creating a community hub. So when I traveled through Latin America, there were like these huge pavilions that have small market stalls that people can take their goods to. And it's not like a farmer's market that's charging 35% of earnings or $500 annual fee. It's like if I want to show
Like a
up
free
on
market.
Tuesday and sell, people know where to come find produce. And who's ever there offering produce is the people that they buy from. So I have no commitment, but I have that as a resource. Um, yeah, so like access to customers, I think is what my original statement was.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well,
Sounds
it
as you
sounds
have
like
the
that helps. It sounds like something like that would help facilitate those different harvest days too
Right, because I
for
harvest
growers.
5 days a week.
Right. That's a good one. Um, what about you, Georgia?
One of my main things is that storage aspect. So we tend to sell a lot of what we produce, but I have a really hard time storing it. I either have to like take it home. Yeah, so things of that aspect. I like one thing I think that would be really nice hearing you guys say that you have food that you need to get rid of. I mean, sometimes like our market has been a little bit low. So it'd be great to have like we could distribute some of that for you. Or like I did what Kenny did recently and took like I'm selling my eggs through Meacham.
Hmm.
So yeah, the thing for me is storage, but that has a lot of infrastructure issues. Those are my main things is infrastructure. And then I think like I love the idea of being able to have like a hub where you can just go set up and sell food and people know that it's going to be there. I have a lot of questions on like how does that work? What is the viability of it and the sustainability of it financially? But I think like also maybe like through partnerships, you know, and cross promoting. So like if Kenny wanted to sell produce at SLP, like that's definitely an option. And it's kind of getting off topic, but so my biggest challenges, I guess, are like consistent labor. Sorry, I'm trying to consistent labor and storage / infrastructure. With volunteers, kind of like Cheryl was saying, like we get lots of volunteers during harvest time. Summertime is pretty lean. You know, things like that. So it just seems to be a real feast or famine situation.
Yeah.
Or just dependable labor. So like we get a lot of volunteers, but now that it's getting hot, even though the workday is like 3 hours, they're done after an hour.
30 minutes.
Yeah. You know, and half of them, right? So it's so hard to predict, right? You just don't know who's coming and who's staying and what they're willing to do and what they can do. And we have a lot of people with health issues and all these other aspects, right? Mm-hmm. So that want to be involved. And so it can just be sort of like, it's tough. I think that's
herding tadpoles.
Herding tadpoles. Herding cats is what I always say. But I've never tadpoles.
I just thought about I have a bucket with sweet potato slips and I poured it out and I saw the tadpoles.
All these, yeah, all the time. Yeah. I mean, exactly. It is. It's so yeah, so those are kind of my biggest things. And then I think getting those partnerships, like how I didn't know that you guys were having trouble with distribution until today. And I would have loved to have known that, because I think if we can like flush out our market stand a little bit more, we get good traffic.
So it sounds like a good, like similar to what the other working group did and focused on those like collaborative partnerships. It sounds like building some of those partnerships, whether it's like you said, Georgia, to facilitate storage for another, almost like kind of collective impact, or like, you know, facilitating building partnerships to build collaboration around, not collaboration, but shared solutions around some of the challenges. Might be like the initial start of one of our goals.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl. Thank you.
Cheryl.
I had a question around that. Samantha, and I know it's probably on the platform, but can you just get me the schedule for the other working groups like economic development and access, so that way it would be nice to kind of hear what they're actually working on that would solve some of these problems that we have listed, only because it's not our priority. You know what I mean? Yes, training our producers on distribution, but actually creating the distribution site or creating that hub is not our priority. So just to be able to this is me being selfish, make sure that they're working on some of those issues that we're having on this end in their thing.
So economic development meets 11 to 1 on the second Thursday, and they are at the ECC in Hillsborough. And then food access meets on the second Tuesday from 12 to 2, and they're actually going to be here for June and July because Team Tempeh was not available.
Okay.
So
sorry, can we say it again? So economic development.
The second Thursday from 11 to, and they'll be at the ECC except in like I'm gonna see if we can get everyone to post all of their dates for the rest of the
Yeah, because I think I just keep seeing them really late.
So they are recurring, and that's what this banner tells you when they are.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It's just the locations sometimes aren't always available.
You said second Tuesday.
Yeah, for quick access, it is the second Tuesday, and over the summer they're going to be at this library.
And what time you said?
12 to 2. And you can always join virtually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
It is about time to wrap up this section. So, any final thoughts on your goals before we?
So yeah, so real quick, just to summarize, do we even have one goal? We don't have one. Okay.
It's a good start.
Yeah, I looked at the food access group, I think, or was it economic development? They tabled their goals.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be best.
yeah. I mean, I think it's just because these are big problems to solve.
There's a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them, and we're spread out. Hillsborough County is a huge county, and so I think it can be hard to like try to solve those problems. I know it's not necessarily like we're trying to solve them for the whole county, but yeah, I think this is just kind of tough.
So can we say that for our next meeting, since we have the finalized goal, our homework individually is to come with, there's what, 5 of us? To come with at least one goal each, one definitive goal idea each. Okay.
Okay.
Have one
You do?
so far, just one. So like on labor shortage, that is frustrating, but it is volunteer. And so maybe some of these grants can help like fund these people. Maybe that can also be used as like, it can be intertwined with the pathway to a certificate, and so that there's more incentive for them instead of just, out of the graciousness of their heart. So like building a consistent paid local food labor network, launching like a community farm stewardship program. So like, and you can get like a certificate for that.
So that pipeline that we were talking
Yeah.
about, give them something to do. So the people that are in that pipeline training, even Kenny students, let's just say, I don't even know what the hell minimum wage is, right? Sorry. I don't even know what minimum wage.
$14 in September.
Okay. So something like that where we fund a group of 5 people that want to go through that pipeline training. While they're going through that pipeline training, they have to work at one of the assigned farms kind of idea.
Yeah.
So like a mini green team a mini green team.
Mini green or
Well,
I don't know what to.
The Tampa AmeriCorps, it's an AmeriCorps program from the city of Tampa.
Yeah, I knew that part, but they have to work at assigned. I thought they all work together to do.
No, yeah, they do. But I'm just saying like the concept of the green team
Yeah,
where they're actually paid and they go to whatever
They're funded by a grant
Yeah.
to do those things.
To good, yeah.
And then through that, they also get networking opportunities, and they get to put that on the resume.
So like, let's just say if that program is 6 months, they have to do time at each month. They have to do time at do time at a different producer's space, or they get assigned to one producer and then they go through their 6-month cycle there at that place. So something like that. I like that idea. Paid labor.
And there could also be different ways to pay, like in terms of like, because people really want community too. And so that maybe like thinking of ways of like how you can cultivate a more connected community whenever they come to, for your farm, like what other things besides funding can they look forward to besides funding and besides maybe some produce that they can have? Like, what are some sorts of events that you have or different perks that come with being in a community?
Mm-hmm.
I think on that aspect, sorry, Savannah, I'm gonna shut up, is so for, and I'm gonna probably overspeak, but correct me if I'm wrong, but like from us on the ground, right? And they are coming and they want incentives. That requires the garden space to have funding to have that particular incentive. So at the end of the day, the producer doesn't necessarily have that extra funding to create that. So is the grant going to cover the additional incentive, or is that something different? I'm just trying to get clarity so I can wrap my head around it, because I know that's an issue. Like I want volunteers to come out, right? And the only incentive at this time that I can offer them would be whatever plants, cuttings, whatever is available to harvest, right? You're welcome to come to our community dinners. That's all I can offer you. You know what I mean? Is that enough of an incentive to get people to continuously come back?
Yeah,
No.
on my last part, yeah, that's kind of it. Like, those community dinners they contribute to like a more cohesive community, I think, or the yogas at the garden that you have too also contribute. Just like things like that, those like cute things that aren't directly, things that like need to be funded really heavily, just like little small
But
things.
that's also things like something I run into is having like snacks and not necessarily water because I really hate bottled water.
Yeah.
But especially through the summer, hydration. So whether that's like electrolyte mixes, things like that, like that's something that would be really nice that I guess I do out of pocket quite often for my volunteers. So I can't always offer them produce and things like that because we're selling it for our financial stability. So, but I do try to bring like on a day where I know we're doing some not so, lots of digging or whatever it is. Want to make that pretty clear up front so that everyone knows like what they're coming into. But I bring coffee and donuts or I bring something. So having like maybe a stipend for something like that to allow the gardens to or the spaces to sort of provide something that keeps those volunteers there and happy in that workspace.
Yeah.
Because I think like
Well, I think like for instance, so if I think of items like that, Georgia, like electrolytes or equipment or things that your volunteer would, I don't know, I think of like a, their their work pack, right? Like whatever they're using to do their job. So I think of like how can you take the burden of providing those things off of the producer? And so I think of in terms like of a goal, partnering with organizations that might be able to sponsor um, things like items to provide to their volunteer base. Whether and we could define what those items would be, but I'm thinking like for like the electrolytes, like even reaching out to one of a regional or local manufacturer of those, like they might be able to just like they do with like cases of beer where they, whoever donates those big large pallets to events and festivals, like in that same kind of realm where like partnering with different companies to be able to sponsor or gift in kind some of those items that would take typically a producer is bearing the weight of on behalf of their volunteers. I guess I'm just thinking of like of a way we can put it back to like a goal and making it easier for the producers to provide perks to the volunteers.
So I would say we do need to wrap up this section, but that is a good point because I was thinking the same thing about it needs to be sustainable. Like just having a stipend one time for like snacks is not a long-term like sustainable thing, but finding like connecting sponsorships or something like that might be a good idea. But yeah, we gotta table this so we can move on to the rest of the meeting. So I think you guys were all gonna come with one goal next time as a deliverable. Is that what we settled on? Great. Okay.
Let's say that she's off the hook. She already gave us hers.
Yeah, I'll try to get more too.
All right. So to keep moving in this meeting, I mentioned that we have the continuing education stipend last time, but I went ahead and we made some guidelines for those. So this continuing education stipend, I'm just going to kind of read through this document for you all. It outlines the allowable and non-allowable expenses for the continuing education fund. Everything has to be pre-approved. Reimbursements won't be provided for expenses incurred without prior authorization. So it's available to the leadership team first, which means all of you guys, the voting members, are who it's available to first. But if they're not utilized by August 1st, then they'll be available to anyone in the network, basically, which is all working group members. So that includes anyone else who maybe is on our call. If they would like to use those continuing education funds, it's just more open to everyone. You guys are still welcome to apply after August 1st. But we just want to make sure it gets used. So if you guys aren't using it, we want somebody to use it. So it is for structured events and courses that can contribute to professional development and benefit the working group's objective. So that would include things like registration for an event, conference, or an online course, or an in-person course. Travel, which would be expenses for transportation to the event. You do have to follow the government guidelines for like the millage rates, which are linked here. And that also includes hotel stays, or like there's a limit based off where you are. So we do want to stay within those. We want you to specify the mode of transportation, and the reimbursement will reflect the actual cost. And then we'll also cover lodging. And same thing, you want to follow those government site guidelines, and we want to know the hotel nightly rate. Again, reflect actual cost. So non-allowable costs, we won't be covering meals unless they're already included in registration fee. Usually conferences do include like lunch and a light breakfast, sometimes dinner. Anything else, entertainment, personal expenses, materials that aren't mandatory, so like optional textbooks, membership fees, unless the event registration is contingent on membership, travel or lodging range that do not adhere to those guidelines. So even if the hotel that's hosting the conference, if it's over the per diem, like it's not allowable. So sorry if it's the only hotel, if it's too expensive, we cannot fund it. And anything that's incurred without written approval. We understand there might be like an emergency situation or something, but please contact myself, Dahlia, Monica, before you pay for something, and make sure you contact us and be like, hey, I need to pay for this thing. Is that cool? To request it, we have an application that I'll go through in a minute. This is what's all on it. I'll talk about that. It's important to note that it is subject to budget availability. So your treasurer will kind of keep track. We'll tell you when it's approved. Like the admin team will approve it or reject it, I guess. And approval will be based on the relevance of this to your role and the working group's goals. And you're encouraged to seek cost-effective options for travel and lodging. And like I said earlier, if they remain unutilized by August 1st, I'll be open to any member of the network. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. So any questions before I go to the application? All right. Yes, Scott.
Okay. What's the deadline for using the funds for the grant? Like,
That is October 1st. Sorry, I didn't mention that. It's October 1st. So that's why we wanted to open it to anyone by August 1st, so they have time to utilize it. It just needs to be spent by October 1st. So like if there's an event on October 15th or something, and we can pay for the registration ahead of time, that's acceptable. Does that help? There will
yes,
also
thank
be,
you.
okay, I was like, there'll be additional funding next year as well after October 1st, but it'll probably be the same thing where it's only available to voting members until August 1st. So we want our voting members to utilize it first. So that's a good question. I should have written that in here. Like it must be used after first. And the total amount is $3,000, which is low on this application here. So any other questions before I read through this part? Okay. So this is the document request. It tells you to review the document that I just showed you before you apply. We want the basic stuff, your name, your email, your phone number. Okay, then we want like what is the opportunity? So, the title of the conference or the title of the course, whatever organization is hosting it. So, if it's the USDA or whatever, Florida Organic Growers, we want to know who is hosting it. We want a description opportunity. Usually you can find that on their website. It's okay to copy and paste here. We need to know the dates, if it's virtual or in person. Which working group are you part of? How will this contribute to the goals of your working group? So this is where you really need to take some time to think about how this opportunity applies to your working group. We want to know the total cost requested, how much the registration fee is, and then if you're traveling, again, we want you to follow those government guidelines. You can request the mileage, and I think the government rate is like 70 cents a mile. So you want to estimate that. Lodging costs. If you can include like the nightly rate and then the total, because sometimes there's like resort fees and stuff like that, that would be helpful. I can actually probably edit this to say include per night and spell.
I can't seem to find this, the form or document in the drive.
So it should be in, I can show you in a second. It should be on like the main landing page where you can see all three of the working group folders. And it should be called like continuing education.
I'm in this folder right now.
Yeah, so it's in that folder. I think it should be, there's like a document. It's called like continuing education, maybe. Maybe not.
I don't see it
Okay,
either.
I'll find it. Okay.
I can do search too.
Okay. Like I can figure out where it is. Let's see which folder it's in. Yeah, it's in there. Says it's in this one. Working. Oh wait, maybe it's not in here. The folder you guys can see. Okay, I will move it where you can see it, and then this will link you to the application as well. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. So then include per night rate and total. All right, and then at the end, we just want to know that you have to check that you understand that you will only be reimbursed for actual costs incurred, and receipts must be provided. We do need your receipts for our reporting to the county. And when you've completed the opportunity, you can produce a one-page report to share with your working group, and we might share it with the other working groups if it's relevant to other people. So it has to be at least one page. If you want to do like a whole slideshow, be my guest. But at the very minimum, we want like a one-page report. It doesn't have to be like an essay, but just showing us what you learned, like the most relevant points, just so that it's not just benefiting you, it's benefiting the working group. Are there any questions about this? Just make sure it's here. No? Pretty clear? Okay, let me move it to your folder. Sorry about that. They have almost the same name, so. Okay. There we go. So now you should be able to see it if you refresh it. And that should, so this is published, so you should be able to utilize that. All right, well, I'm glad that that was not too hard to go through. All right. And also it's linked on the meeting notes, I guess. If you really couldn't find it, it's linked here too. So for this mini grant that you guys all want to know about, where you're asking all the questions. So this is that grant that's for $4,000. The total is $4,000. We plan to open it around June 9th, which will actually be before your next meeting. So we're going to utilize your working group definition and your priority areas before but once you have your goals finalized, we'll add your goals as the thing, just because we need to get it out, because it needs to be we need to have it out so that people can start applying. So we're going to include your definition and your priority areas, and once you have your goals, we'll add them to. I'm going to make like a one-page document with all of the working groups information, and then we will. I haven't opened it yet, so you guys can't actually view this right now, but let me see where I put it. I have maybe in this one. Maybe it's in this one. I think it's in. So I have a like general document. I printed this so that you guys can. Okay, so I can put this in your working group as well, but there's like a PDF version of this because it's not currently published. If you want to look at it again later. Okay. So this is that application for the $4,000 bucket. So at the top, it tells people this grant is to support Homegrown Hillsborough partner projects as they align with working group priorities in areas of food production. Okay. There will not be a recurring funding opportunity. All funds will be available on a one-time basis, and notification of grants will be made on September 1st, and the applications must be submitted by August 1st. So you'll be spending your August meeting going through applications that are relevant to your working group. We might filter out the ones that are like, obviously a no. If it's like, they don't work in Hillsborough County or something like that. So you guys will spend your August meeting doing that, but that's why we need to get it out like as early as possible in June. And like I said, June 9th date isn't like a hard date, it's just Monica's return. All right, so applications can be submitted on behalf of an organization or a project team. However, in the event that the application is not being submitted by a 501c3, a fiscal sponsor must be identified, or an agreement can be made through the Homegrown Hillsborough Working Group, which would be admin, to distribute funds on a reimbursement basis. So if it's a for-profit organization, it's a reimbursement versus just an upfront amount of money. We will not fund individuals, so they have to have some type of organization accepting the money. But like I said, it can be for-profit. That's okay. We just have to do it a little bit differently. And they must operate in Hillsborough County. That doesn't mean that their only operations have to be in Hillsborough County, but they must do some work in Hillsborough County. So please feel free to stop me anytime if you think that like you want to have an edit to a question or something, because this is not published yet and this is to get your feedback. Do you have a question already?
No.
Oh no, I think you were going to raise your hand. Okay. So first things first, first name, last name, email address, phone number. Now here's where we want to know their organization or the name of the project. What is their role? Who are the partners involved? So if it's not just one organization, that's why we wanted the project name. How many partner points do you have? That's something we're still kind of working on, is if everyone's gonna be able to see all the partner points, or if it's more what we're reviewing. Project description. So this is where they should be telling us what the project is. What working group does it fit within? And this is where either here or maybe this question would link all of those priority areas and definitions, and then eventually the goals. So we want to know, how does their project advance the priorities of the working group? So actually, probably this question, I'll link that. So they have to pick these. And then we want to get their budget. And here's the question that you guys are asking. I know you guys were talking about smaller buckets. We talked about it, and we didn't really want to limit people too much, but we did say $2,000. So so that we can award more than one grant, the cap is 2,000, but we do still only want people to request what they need for their budget. So it says, please only request the amount needed for your budget, up to $2,000. Does that help? Because I know the question was like, how much? I don't know how much I would be able to use.
Does it need to say budget or project?
What do you mean?
Only request is needed for your project rather than.
It's a project budget.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Budget. $2,000. So yeah, so the total is 4,000, but we're asking people to only ask for 2,000, so that we can award at least 2. But if some group has like a big idea that needs 4,000 and they have one person apply for half and the other apply for the other half, like, I think that's a way we could kind of, if it's a great, amazing project that could potentially work. But I think you guys were more interested in smaller groups anyway. So that is how we wanted this. So we're really, we want to know the total and then how we'll use the fund. So this is kind of where we want the budget. So we want to know what's going to go towards personnel, program supplies, equipment, contracted services, marketing, communications, training, if they have anything else. It should all be listed there. And if personnel costs are over 25% of the funds, we want them to justify why, because we don't want to just be funding personnel. That's kind of one of our only limits, is personnel costs. But even then, if they can justify it, that's fine. That's really, like I said, one of our only limits. But if they want to tell us why it's important that they spend 50% of their funding on personnel, and everyone agrees that that's cool, great. And then we're also asking, how will the work be sustained beyond this investment? So what are they doing? How is this not just going to be a one-time thing? How can it help grow their organization or be utilized? And then along those same lines, we want them to identify 2 potential additional funding sources for future stages. That doesn't mean that it's 2 additional funding sources for this specific project. It just means the future of whatever this project is. I think that's it. Any thoughts? Additional questions? This seems clear to everyone.
The project partners one. Are we going to say that they have to work with a partner? On our side, I know in economic development we met with already, they are requiring that people have partners. So can it be worded as, if you have a project partner, who is it? Rather than who are the partners involved, because we may not require them to have.
So this, I would say that this, if they just put like themselves, that's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't say like it has to be partners.
Okay.
But if they say like just the organization, I think that's fine, but do you think that
Okay.
that's clear in this question? Like, would you see this question and think that you have to have another person?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if I put this in like a parentheses?
Yeah.
Is that like who is the partner-in-law? Who are the partners-in-law?
Yeah.
All right, that makes it for better. Okay. Good point.
I think the last question, to potential additional funding sources for future stages of the project. It's a little unclear to me, I guess. Because you said it doesn't have to be for that particular.
It's not for this stage, it's for future stages, which is why I wrote future. And actually it was 3, but another working group was like 3 seems like too many.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kenny.
Hi, Kenny.
I think that's just difficult to name because we don't know necessarily what funders are gonna have funds available. So like this year, yeah, Sprouts has a grant, but
And that's what we're looking for. It's if we just want them to do like a little bit of research to show that they know how to find a grant and say like these 2 grants or whatever would be relevant to this project.
okay.
Like it doesn't have to, if you don't know that we know that you don't know the future.
Yeah.
So as long as it's like, you can just say, and that's why it's potential funding is that, they could be used for future stage.
I think I just got confused when you said, I think it's just the way that when you like verbally explained it, maybe there was like misspeak and that confused me, but okay.
But if you just read it,
Yeah.
should I like underline future stages?
No, I don't think so. I think it's that maybe when you're like explaining, you're like, it doesn't have to be this project. And I think what you meant was like, it doesn't have to be this stage. And that's where I was confused. I was like,
Okay.
so what does that have to be for? Yeah.
For future stages of this project.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right. Any other thoughts on this before we? All right. And I'll put the PDF version of this in your like resources on the platform, like over here under your resources so that you can review it again if you'd like. And then last thing, these are the deliverables for next meeting. If you guys want to look for some continuing education opportunities, if you want to review this draft, actually I have it linked here to the other groups page, but I'll add it to yours too. If you want to provide any comments to me that maybe you didn't want to share, go for it. If you could post all of the meetings through December on the platform, that would be helpful so that everyone just has them in their calendar. And if things change, we can change them. It's editable, but so that it's not like posting, like the week before or anything. And we can stay after here and do it like right now if you want.
Are we updating that time to 10:30 or is it going back to 10 o'clock?
Oh, that reminds me. This library next month is not available through 12:30, so it's only available 10 to 12. Like there was only one room that was available, so I just went ahead and booked it. We don't have to do it here if you want to change libraries to do 10:30 again, or if you guys are
Does this library open?
10. I'm pretty sure. I think that's all that was. Let's see. Yeah, they were.
If we're gonna do 10:30 and what's the one that was on Bush?
They also have at 10, yeah.
Yeah,
They
it
all
was at 10, but if we're starting at 10:30, then we should.
We could do it there instead if we wanted.
All right, I have to go through like the.
It was just a
We
thought.
may also want to like look into this HDMI connection.
I'll just get it. I'll buy my own cord. I think it's their cord.
Oh, you think third cord? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I meant. I was like,
And I
let's just
didn't
look
even
into
figure out
that if we
where.
like need to book a different room
No,
or.
I think it's their cord.
Okay.
I just book whatever room is available that has enough seats because
Yeah.
people be using these rooms.
This library was like popping when we got
Oh.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, but we can chat about like the room location, but we do have to do the evaluation. And yeah, actually I did write it down here, 10 to 12, but like I said, we can
Perfect. Yeah.
fix that up. I should have got Kenny before he left.
Do you know why this library is closed after 12?
It's just the room wasn't available. It's not the library closed. There was no rooms available.
For next
Yeah,
week.
they all were like booked all morning, so it was the only available time. Okay.
Summer times.
Yeah. So, and I'll try to book like through December. after this. So, okay, let's rate the meeting before we wrap up here. So participation, did everyone participate? Nicole, how would you rate it 1 through 5?
Yeah, everyone participated 5.
All right, all right, say 5. All right. What did we accomplish? Achievement. Nicole?
Is this the 1 through 5 still?
Yep, they're all 1 through 5.
Oh, okay, 4.
And it's based on the agenda and what we're supposed to accomplish?
Yeah.
3.
Okay. Also 3. 4. All right. Were people focused and mindful? Nicole?
5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, last one. Did we stick to our agenda and use our time wisely?
4.
Yeah, 5.
5.
All right, thank you guys. Okay, now we can go back to, now that that's done, that is the last thing on our agenda. So we can look back at the other, like the library time, if you guys want to chat about the next meeting. Let me see if
I would just love for us to have a consistent meeting spot rather than bouncing from library to library.
And it sounds like that might be possible after next
Going
month.
forward. Okay, so let me see. The next month is on June 26th, which, yeah, it's right on here. And let me get to this library. That one is called, this one is Jimmy BQ. Yeah, so this library is literally all booked up. And North Tampa does have rooms available. The conference room is available and the classroom, which has projection, whiteboard. I think that's what we were in last time, was the classroom. So do you guys want to switch back to North Tampa, or do you want to come here right at open?
I'm good with either one.
Same. I mean, I think
I vote North Tampa temporary.
perfect.
That's just my opinion.
No, I neither of us. That's why I was like, great, let's do it then.
I can book that one. And
To me, I feel like it's
yeah,
just like Dee said, helpful to have the same space, same time, and like keep that just like a recurring, if possible.
yeah,
Would be
and that was
helpful,
yeah.
like for expectations and not getting confused and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the only thing available at this library next month was only 10 to 12. Like I can't book it all the way to 12:30. So that was the full 2 hours. So I did book it in case you guys wanted to do that. But I can also, instead, we could do the North Tampa branch 10:30 to 12:30, like this one. I just need to know, and whichever one you guys want to do going forward, if you want to do more, stick with here. I'll do the rest of them here, unless there's an issue. So
Either one is fine with me. I think for me, it was more about like if we start at 10 when the library opens at 10,
we're like rushing.
We're rushing and we're gonna lose time on it. So that's really all I care about. Or maybe if we can like you said, the other two groups are having their meeting kind of vary a little bit in location. So making sure that we keep it to only 2 locations. So it's either this library or that library, and that's it, you know?
The other thing that I had thought about too, but he dropped off the call, was when school starts back, I know he's going to be able to join us in person over the summer, but when school starts back, is that he's going to be, running over on a lunch break, or kind of like how that's going to work? So maybe that's an offline conversation for Kenny.
Yeah. I also was curious about that because I thought that there was like a requirement for in-person, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I just want to be. I'm not trying to please Kenny. I want to know for my own clarity.
Yeah.
Like if I need that, you know what I mean? Like, okay, what are the rules?
Yeah, he said he would, when I last saw him like last week, he said he was going to take time off on those days, maybe get a substitute. That's what he said, but he also didn't seem too sure about it. So I don't really know what it is that he was
He doesn't even know his schedule next year.
Yeah, and
I was going to talk to him.
Yeah, because the only reason I was thinking that was, okay, so since he's at Middleton, if we're all the way out here, you know what I mean? At least that's a little bit closer.
Yeah, the North Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's way closer.
Yeah.
So do you want me to go ahead and book that one for next meeting?
I would say so.
We can get it for all meetings.
Okay.
And maybe also keeping like one anchor thing as like 10:30 being the start
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
10:30,
So like,
definitely.
so like if we have to move locations, it's still
10:30.
always 10:30 to
Yeah.
12:30. You know, I find that to be really helpful.
Me too.
All right, cool. I like it. Thank you, Scott, for attending. Thank you,
Thanks for
Danny.
joining us.
I know it's not really clear, Scott, yet as to what we're working on. It is a working group. So it's a work in progress. It's to us like establishing the foundation of our group. This is only our second meeting. So we're also trying to figure it out. So I apologize if it's not clear and if I picked on you intentionally because I would have loved to have heard your thoughts and feedback on the call. So I appreciate you so much.
Who's Danny?
I would love to know who Danny is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know Danny's.
Thanks for joining. Yeah, we appreciate it.
Okay, have a good weekend.
You too,
Thanks so
Scott.
much.
I'm gonna jump off, you guys.
All right.
See you, Nicole.
Thank you.